Welcome to the podcast series at the College of Education and Integrative Studies. I'm Jeff Pass, Dean of the College, and here at Poly Pomona we have a program called IGE, which is Interdisciplinary General Education. And we'll be talking to 3 students who have graduated or are about to graduate from this program, and they have interesting stories to tell. Let's start off by having you introduce yourselves.
Yeah, so my name is Kevin Lee, and I'm an international business marketing major. I'm on my last year.
Kevin, welcome.
Hi, I'm Audrey Murray. I'm an anthropology student. This is also my last year.
Hi, I'm Aliya Simjee. I'm a communications major, and this is my 3rd year.
And where did you hear about IGE? Where did you hear about Interdisciplinary General Education? How were you exposed to it, any of the 3?
I was exposed to it at orientation, and I was interested in it, and my brother took it when he went to Cal Poly, so he just suggested that I took it as well.
So orientation is the summer just before classes start in your freshman year?
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Audrey?
Same. I heard it from orientation, and I also previously knew one of the professors, Dr. Lampier, and she was telling me about the program.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to say the same. Orientation, I saw one of the videos play, and it was just a bunch of students outside and not a typical learning environment, like, you know, in the gardens and whatnot. I was like, okay, this is interesting, so I have to learn more about it.
Okay, so one of the things we're trying to do is get the word out to students earlier. Maybe someone who's viewing this webcast can find out about it before they arrive for orientation in the summer. Do you think that's a good way to go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. I think when they show up at orientation and they hear about it, it's still kind of confusing on the concept of it, and I think more explaining and more in-depth would get a lot more students into the program. Mm-hmm.
So what did you hear that made you say, oh, this is something that I want to do?
I would say that it was the idea that there were no tests in this course. Like, oh, God, we're not being graded by how well we're able to memorize things or regurgitate information. And that was pretty much the main factor. So
you don't have a problem with tests, but tests that are just memorization or busy work kinds of tests. Mm-hmm. And this seemed more real?
Yeah, it seemed like it wasn't going to judge us off of memorization, but something else, something bigger.
Okay.
And also just like the way that the lessons are taught, it includes like how it was introduced to me that it includes a lot of art in it, and that's something that I genuinely enjoy. So I thought it was an interesting way to like learn new things from our professors, and also the classroom setting where we were able to like discuss it with our peers. I thought that was really interesting.
And was that something that came to be true, that you were able to use your art orientation?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay, how?
Well, they have like different arts events, so that's an interesting way to like apply our knowledge that we learn in class out in the real world. And also like the professors will have us put on different presentations and have like kind of like big pieces of white paper and like draw on them and use our artistic ways to kind of show what we've learned. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've also done, in one of my classes, we had to make a quilt for like the Day of the Dead. You made a quilt square, or we made like a mask for like an African culture. So it's a lot of art, more art than I thought I would be doing in a college classroom.
And is that what appealed to you when you were choosing it? Was it the art?
I didn't know about that, but as I learned more about it, I was like really excited about it because I'm a little bit artistic. So it made the class more fun and more like involved.
So presumably most of the listeners really don't have any idea what interdisciplinary general education is. They've learned snippets now. They learned something about no tests and lots of art. How would you describe it? What other bullet points would you add to the description?
I would say it's a collaboration between you and your peers around you, having an open mind throughout the whole process, and taking bits and pieces from everyone and combining it into one presentation.
So how does collaboration work? Like, what would be an example of collaboration?
Collaboration is a typical presentation, but not just your standard PowerPoint presentation, like kind of utilizing everyone's talent outside of the classroom too, and incorporating that.
So talent could be artistic talent, video talent, writing talent.
Drawing talents, and for me, even it was magic talent. I'm a magician outside of classrooms, so being able to perform for my peers and my teacher, it was a very different thing because that's what usually happens outside of the classroom. But being able to do that inside was really great.
Yeah, I don't think we can go on without asking more about magic. How did you integrate magic into your coursework?
So one of the first projects we did was the mask, as you said, creating a mask, a representation of who we are to the whole classroom without really speaking. And I did a card trick, I remember, because that's like when I first started magic, card tricks were the thing. So I did a card trick in front of everyone, and it was just truly astounding for everyone. But for me, it meant so much because finally a professor was allowing me to use what I loved in front of everyone. But,
nice. And how about the rest of you? What bullet points would you add to the description of IGE?
Just that it's different based on what professor you take. Just that they each bring something different to like the IGE classroom. Some of them are more about like religion, and some of them are more about like the activities that we do. And so it definitely made it more fun to take the different professors and see, like, it was always unexpected. Like, what are we going to be doing in this course? What fun things there's going to be added to it this time?
So there was no same old, same old.
Yeah, it wasn't like a regular GE class where you're going to learn like the same information no matter what professor you take. It was very like dynamic, and I really enjoyed that about it. Made it a lot more fun.
Something for me is that it's a really well-rounded program. So when we get, our articles and our books that we have to read, we have a chance to go home and read it ourselves and kind of self-reflect and create our own opinions on it. Then bring it to class and talk to our peers and see what their opinions are. So we have our facts, we have our own opinion, and we can incorporate other people's opinions and really learn how to communicate that with others, which I think is really valuable. Yeah,
it's really discussion-based. It's not all the professor telling you about the material. It's very, what do you think? And then there's almost like in-class debates that we would have.
We even teach the class sometimes in what we do.
Yeah.
Instead of the professor teaching.
So some students are hesitant to go to a class that's discussion-based because they've had bad experiences. How are these classes different that would persuade those people who are hesitant to come and try it?
I feel like it's very a safe zone for spreading your ideas. And at first, I mean, to all of us, it's still very new. Like, oh, we're talking about very touchy and sensitive topics, so we kind of have to hold back in our answers. But IG kind of allows for that, for us to be honest but respectful at the same time.
So give me an example of a touchy or sensitive topic that you explored.
It's probably the idea of sexuality. That's something that my family didn't really talk about. So to finally discuss with a lot of people different types of sexuality and being very open about it, that was a great discussion.
So you're really vulnerable when you're talking about yourself and your attitudes, but yet you felt safe.
I felt safe at the same time.
And that's, I guess, a tribute to the professors who, by the way, have been trained to do this. It's not like they just walked in and said, oh, yeah, I'll do an IGE class. Yeah. How about the rest of you? Sensitive topics?
Or just what we were saying about the professors, they kind of cultivate a really safe and comfortable environment in the classroom. Or we would talk about religion, and so some people are a little bit zealous about their religion, but we were still able to have still intellectual debates and personal debates about it without anyone's feelings getting hurt, I feel like.
Yeah, most definitely. We even had an activity last quarter where we had a protest within class, and we were all divided up into different groups, and we all had to really we all argued with each other, and we were getting angry, we were yelling, we were trying to be as communicative as possible, but definitely got into some yelling fits. But at the end of the day, we all knew it was an activity, and we all learned how to actually have a debate and how to have that discussion, and it's really great. And also, for somebody who is worried about coming into IGE and learning that we have to discuss a lot, there's a lot of different forms of discussion. So it's not only group discussions, we can do one-on-one, we can do 4 people, so they really get to apply how they like to communicate in different settings.
So it seems like there's 2 things that's being learned. It's the content, the regular objectives of the class, but also how to learn and the skills of discussion and compassion and empathy.
And learning how to work in a group, definitely. Just learning how to balance everybody's opinions and talents like we were talking about, and just not pushing anybody to the side, or just making sure it's something that reflects all of us in the group, not just one person.
So that's another thing that would send people running in the opposite direction, because they've had bad experiences in small groups where maybe it's monopolized by an individual or somebody wasn't doing his or her share. How does your IGE experience counter that?
Well, I think people in the program are just passionate about the program. They want to do the projects that we're given. So I never have come across a problem like that within a group where one person doesn't want to participate. It's like everybody is actively participating, actively adding their opinions, and just making a great project.
Because they wouldn't enroll in IGE unless they were committed to that.
Or by the time you get to the group work part, you really know people pretty well in your class, and you realize that you're all engaging with the material well, so you're like friends doing a group project together. It's not like strangers.
Mm-hmm. And like we said in the beginning, there's no right or wrong answer, so everyone always has something to provide to the group.
That's fantastic. So what kinds of projects did you work on? You have to do some kind of self-selected project. What did you folks choose?
Well, for one of mine, it was my favorite one. We did it on Black Lives Matter, and so we had to research the group, and then basically it was just a research project, and then you just present it to the class. But we presented it to the class as like a news broadcast. So we were like the newscasters, and then we were like the people protesting, and so we got to be really creative with the information. It was very, they just kind of like let us do what we wanted to do, but we still had to present the information. So
it was more engaging for the participants, in that it's not a traditional old term paper, and it was much more entertaining than listening to a classmate read aloud or even do a PowerPoint. This is something more creative. But do you also do traditional kinds of term papers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the capstone seminar class, which is the last class of the program, is what I'm taking now. We have to write a 15-page essay, and I know that sounds like a lot, but it's fun to write the essay because you get to choose the topic that you want to write about, and you integrate everything that you've learned through IGE throughout the 3 years, that it just comes so easily to you. And just
so you've been thinking about it and doing activities and writing about it, so 15 pages turns out to maybe not be enough.
Yeah, definitely.
And the course is pretty like reading and writing heavy. Like there are like small written assignments you have to turn in every week. But by the time you start taking more of the classes, you're a pro at it, and you can just turn it in and read it and turn it in and really quickly. So by the time you get to the 15-page paper, you're really familiar with the IGE material already, so that you're able to integrate it into whatever topic that you choose. Easy peasy.
So you get good at it or better at it as the further you go along.
Yeah.
So tell me about your projects, your capstone projects.
Okay, so
I never thought anyone asked you about
no, not at all. I did mine on magic, surprise. And it was the idea of communication, because when I first started magic, I used it as the only means to talk to people. I was a very introverted kid, but as time passed by, I more so utilized it as just a part of the conversation with other people and focused more on who they are and who I was outside of magic. But the whole presentation was fun because a lot of people didn't even know I was a magician, because I don't really say that when I first meet someone nowadays. It happens later on, so that was fun.
For my project, I did it on ADHD, and so I did a lot of research.
ADHD meaning attention
deficit hyperactive disorder.
Yes.
So there's a lot of like scientific and medical research on it that I did, but I was also able to incorporate the IGE sources. Some of them, I mean, they're all academic sources, but then I was able to kind of reflect on it like from a personal standpoint, not me, but someone I know has ADHD. And so I was able to include both like the academic portions of the essay and then a personal like add-ins to it. So again, it just made it fun. It made it more like passionate for me to write about, like you with your magic. So it was more like I put more into it than I would just a research essay for a different class.
And that's one of the things we've known in education for a long time. When students self-select the topics that they wish to study, there's much more attention paid, there's much less procrastination, there's eagerness to learn, and there's a lot more to be learned. How about your project?
My project is about two tribes in Africa, the Briti and the Dagara tribe, and it's really just bringing light to how their community is really based on healing and ritual and community. and talking about how we can bring that to the Western side and how Westerners really crave that. And I've been getting a lot of help with that through the professors because that's something that they're all personally interested in. So I've had a lot of help with Andy Davis last quarter, just out of interest. He was helping me out to research it. And now Kenneth Stahl is really helping me out with it. It's a really fun project.
So those are two of our IGE professors, and they've gone above and beyond because of their own connection to the topic. And how did you choose such an unusual topic?
I'm very closely related with the Preeti tribe. My sister's initiated in it, so I've worked with the tradition a lot. So I really wanted to share like the values that they have because they're absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
And this is anthropological work.
Yes.
And your major is?
Communications.
So how do you connect the two?
It's something that I've come across a lot reading the books too that have to do with it is trying to speak the same language with people who have two completely different sets of values and trying to say, like, I follow a lot of the traditions of the Preeti people, and trying to communicate that to Westerners is kind of difficult because it's so out of the mindset. So learning how to communicate with them and trying to introduce it to them slowly is like what I've been working on for a very long time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the ADHD is kind of something that one would study in a psychology class or in an education class, and your major is?
Anthropology.
Okay, so where do you make the connection?
I guess it would be like anthropology is very cultural based, very studying people as they are, not like as we perceive them. So I guess it would be in the main like point of my essay was to say that people with ADHD are people too. So it's not just this disorder that they have. It's that they're like trying to find their place in the world. So I guess that's kind of, I wanted to give it as perspective from someone with ADHD. So I guess that's how I would tie in anthropology.
So really, folks with disabilities are an actual sociological construct. I mean, that's a category, and they have common beliefs and practices. So I could see the connections there. Did someone help you make those connections, or were those drawn out on your own?
Definitely my professors. My professor for the capstone course was Dr. Rudisell, and then Dr. Kenneth Stahl. They really helped me, because when you start, it's very broad, and you have to kind of figure out and narrow it down, where are you going with this topic? So definitely meeting with your professors during that time. And I also had help from Dr. Peg Lamphere just to help me figure out where I was going with it. So definitely talking to your professors is a must.
So it sounds to me like these professors are doing playing a role different than most of the other professors you've had. I'm getting lots of nods. Tell me about that, besides the ones you've mentioned.
Just through IGE, I've really gained really close personal relationships with my professors. And it's great because I kind of see them as my mentors as well as my friends in a way that if I have a question, they're like so glad to help me out with it. And I used to spend a lot of my time in Dr. Andy Davis's office because he just has so many books on things that I'm interested in, and he'll just hand me them and tell me all about them. And it's a lot of help that I don't really receive outside of the IGE program.
Exactly the same. I feel like I'm friends as also, they're kind of my mentors, so I spend a lot of time with Peg Lamphere or with Kenneth Stahl. Just even if I had a question in anthropology in my major, they would probably be the first couple people that I would turn to, like, to help me figure out things before I would go to others.
IG is just so diverse in topics. You can talk to them as if a friend about anything, not just one subject. Yeah.
And yet you also have peer relationships that develop through this program. How does that work out? How do you hook up with your peer classmates, and how do you work together?
I feel like you're going through so much sensitive topics together throughout the entire course that your relationship becomes stronger too, because you both have to be vulnerable in what you talk about.
So you're no longer like the guy who sits in the front row, but you're the guy who has these beliefs and these issues, and
Same as him, and also, like, you spend a lot of time doing group work, and most of the IGE classrooms aren't structured in rows. They're like the odd classrooms in the buildings. So a lot of times you're at tables with people, or there's one room with like rolling chairs, so you're just kind of all around. So you really get to know people.
Because it's not teacher-centered, there are no lectures. You don't need to be staring at a blackboard or chalkboard.
And you go through the classes with the same people. Like Kevin and I took a lot of classes together, so you get to know people as you like continue up through the levels, and it kind of like whittles down to the core people that you've been in class with since the beginning.
So you read by the end of it, you've got really powerful friends.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
In orientation, it's kind of talked about how it's kind of a high school setting, and that can sound bad, but it's also really good in the way that you're with these people for the 3 years that you're in IG, and you're constantly seeing them and you're constantly around them, that you gain a relationship. Even if you don't talk to them, you already have a relationship with them. You already know who they are, and that can carry on. Like, I'll see them walking around, I'll just say hi, even though I've never like spoken to them before. And it's just a really friendly, it's a community, it really is.
And it's designed to be that, and I guess we've been successful in achieving that. So what do you see in terms of your careers? You're not majoring in IGE, you're each majoring in something else. How is this going to make you better at your career? Not that it has to be. Sometimes learning is good for its own sake.
So like I said, my major was international business marketing. And when it comes to business, you always have to work with a lot of people. And sure, there may be one leader, but what IG's taught me is you have to take information from what everyone has to offer and utilize that into one thing. So being open-minded to what ideas are shared.
Helps you work efficiently in groups, like he was saying, or networking opportunities through just the IGE community here at Cal Poly. And I think being an IGE kind of sets you apart from other students, that you're able to like participate in this awesome program and then be able to share it with others like this.
What makes it more efficient?
You just do it so much. I think you just get used to it and you learn how to do it more and do it better. Not necessarily like the most efficient you could be, but just more efficient than being thrown into a group at random.
Because it's a skill you've developed over time.
As a communications major, it's very theory-based, and there's not a lot of opportunities to actually apply our theories. And so being in IGE, I can apply what I've learned and communicate with my peers and really learn, like especially when it comes to having opposing points of views, learning like what's the most effective way to communicate with them. And it's been really great to like take to other aspects of my life too, yeah.
And when I was taking IGE classes, I found it was very similar to my anthropology classes that I was taking. A lot of the coursework that we were doing, it would like line up in a way that I was like, oh, this is like what I'm learning in this class. So it really helped me like even
Some connections.
Connections and broaden my perspectives even more.
It's all connected once you start delving down a little bit. So many of you mentioned some of your classmates that aren't in IGE. Did they understand what it is you were experiencing, and how did you relate to them and their different pathway through general education?
Well, I always advocate for IGE. Every time someone's like in GE and just in normal GE courses, I'm like, no, you should be taking IGE. Like, you don't understand how great it is. And so I'll like try to communicate with them. But the difference is that I've noticed a lot of people who take regular GE classes, and they're taking it just to take it. They try to find the easiest class just to get those credits and get out of there. Sometimes they're like stuck with a hard class, and it really takes them away from what their curriculum what they needed to take for the curriculum for their major. And
so they just saw it as a hurdle to get through rather than a learning experience.
Yes, and IGE is the learning experience that we get to fully experience and actually gain a lot of value and knowledge out of.
How do you relate to your classmates?
So sure, there aren't tests, but I think that IGE is not a shortcut in the sense that you learn so much about yourself during the process that I don't think normal classes can really offer that, because you're always challenging yourself in this course. Whether it's the essays you have weekly when you're writing and you find out new things about yourself, and you can't really find that when you're taking just a normal test inside other classes.
So did you have discussions like that with some of your business classmates?
Yeah, they're just like, I want to find the shortest cut, like Aliya said, and it's good for you, but I want to get what I want out from this course.
And it's hard you can't just say, oh yeah, I took IGE. And they're like, well, what is that? So you have to explain it. It's something, you can't just say, oh yeah, I didn't really take a history class, I took IGE. So you have to explain it, and then in the process of explaining it, you really give your own opinion about it. And like you were saying, every week you get to talk about what you thought about the reading and everything. So I think when people hear about it, they're like, oh man, I wish I had taken that. At least the people that I've talked to, they're like, oh, that sounds fun. Like, yeah, it was.
So the courses you took were instead of the regular general education courses. So what courses were replaced by IGE?
A lot of them.
There were
Like
only a few that
history.
weren't.
Yeah.
I think it was only like one science that wasn't, and a few upper division, and now IG is satisfying some of those upper division courses.
So your history, your
Government,
art, writing,
economics,
Some of the
economics.
science.
music, any arts that you would have to take.
And it's called Interdisciplinary General Education. How was it interdisciplinary? How did the different subject areas combine?
Well, every single assignment that we have in that class, every single article is integrating other points of views. And actually, we just did an assignment talking about interdisciplinary courses and how they're really important, because somebody who is taking, let's say like someone who is an engineer, they only know engineer stuff, and it's not really integrated with other ideas, other subjects. And so when they try to communicate it, they only can communicate it through through an engineering point of view. But with IGE, we're actually able to integrate that and have a full conversation with multiple points of views.
And so if you're learning about one topic, say it's like religion or government, you're not just learning about that, like exactly what you were saying. You're integrating different topics, and then the people in the classes themselves come from different perspectives. So you're able to not only integrate the scholarly material, but integrate different perspectives in the classroom.
So by learning about government, you're seeing how government influences religion, but also how religion influences government, and thus you learn both of those areas better. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. If you had to give advice besides take IGE, but let's say somebody was actually selecting that program, what advice would you give them to be successful?
I'd say don't be afraid to participate, because I know when I started in IGE, I was very shy, but it really helped me like kind of find my voice and be able to participate in class. So even if you're shy or you don't like participating in class, don't let that stop you from being in the class and figuring it out.
Here you are talking about stuff on television. You've obviously overcome any kind of fears. And the rest of you, what advice?
Yeah, keep an open mind, for sure. Take everything with a grain of salt, but also take what you want from it. And I think you'll learn the most that way.
Yeah, definitely. Like, just take advantage of the program, because they really offer so many different subjects. And also the arts events too. Like, we get to go to LACMA, we get to go on different field trips, and like I don't hear of any other majors or programs getting to go on field trips, and so it's something to really be grateful for.
So where have you gone on your field trips? You said LACMA, which is the art museum?
Yes.
Yeah, the Norton Simon Museum.
Or just different events on campus. Like I had to see a play at the theater, or the Lunar New Year, things that I probably wouldn't have known about or participated in, or the Day of the Dead. I would go to that every year. So really fun things that you probably wouldn't participate in if you didn't know about them.
So somebody who came to campus as a stranger, didn't really know many people, it's a great way to make friends and engage in all kinds of interesting activities.
Definitely.
And you learn a lot.
And you learn a lot.
And you prepare well for a career.
They trick you into learning.
They trick you. Yeah.
Okay, on that note, I want to thank you for your participation in this podcast, and good luck in your careers.
Thank you.
Thank you.